Hi, my name is Wole Faroun, and I'm an under 40 CEO.
The African Renaissance. The concept that the African people and nations shall overcome the current challenges confronting the continent and achieve cultural, scientific, and economic renewal is here, with young men and women taking the lead. Some call them the new school heroes. We call them under 40 CEOs.
Wole bagged a degree in computer engineering from the prestigious Obafemi Awolowo University in Ile Ife in the year 2000. By 2006, he had bagged an MBA from the prestigious Wharton School of Business in the United States. A husband and father to two sons, Wole is passionate about solving real problems using technology, and today he is the CEO of Netplus Advisory, a diversified e-business and software company with a varied and dedicated team whose mission is to provide value-added solutions to the emerging e-business market in Nigeria. All right, welcome to Under 40 CEOs, Wole.
Thank you for having me.
Wole, you attended the Obafemi Awolowo University in Wharton State, that's in Ile Ife. You read computer engineering, and subsequently you attended the Wharton Business School where you got your MBA, Sciences, Business. What informed that transition?
I started as an engineer. I was more interested in technology, but as I moved on in my career, I saw a need to move closer to management and move closer to the core of the business. When you're in technology or support services, sometimes your view of the business and the company is limited to what you're doing. But when you get interested in more of what is this business I'm in, this oil and gas business that I support, or this banking business that I support. I want to learn more about it. I want to know more about it. You get more interested in the core of the business, and that was what informed me to actually go get an MBA.
What were those key lessons that you learned at Wharton Business School that prepared you for the CEO role that you occupy today?
There's a lot more that we can do, and it opened my eyes to that. I started thinking that I could do a lot more than I thought I could. I met a lot of classmates who had done, before even coming to business school, who had done a lot of incredible things. Started businesses, sold businesses worth $5 million, worth $2 million, and $10 million. And these were guys that I was sitting with in classes and learning with day to day. And you begin to think, it's not too late. I can do a lot more than what I've always thought I could do, as a professional. And that was a huge lesson for me.
Beautiful. I learned that at some point you actually left ExxonMobil, where you had a great job, in quote, to start your own business, possibly. Why?
I left ExxonMobil for business school. A lot of people, including my dad, thought I was making a big mistake. I had to convince him that I knew what I was doing. Potentially, I thought I did back then. But I thought if I could get to Mobil once, and if I needed to come back to Mobil or do something similar, I could always do it. So I didn't want that to hold me down from the dreams I had of going to a great school and then what comes after subsequently. And I'm glad I made that decision. Not because the job wasn't great, but I think what I do now is even a lot greater than what I was doing back then.
So when you say greater, do you mean you're making more money, or it's more impact and potentially more money in the future?
It's less about the money, but because I think the money will come if you're really making an impact. I think it's more of the impact and the chance to change the world, so to speak. In this case, the world is the Nigerian market.
Now, what are those business ideas that over time you've managed to convert into viable businesses?
I've created a few ideas and turned them into concepts that have been validated by the market. But they've always been along the same lines. And that's why, if I did technology today and agriculture tomorrow and, entertainment the next, then maybe I'm a serial entrepreneur. But the way I've thought about all my ideas up until now, they've been around technology. How can we use technology to innovate? How can we solve problems? How can we make things more efficient? How can we help organizations do more than they are doing? How can we use new channels to promote businesses? They've been along those, same line. We started out with e-commerce because if you look at this market, we're doing things differently. The government and the CBN, they're enabling transactions to happen electronically, and we saw that as an opportunity. Opportunity not just for us as a business, but for millions of businesses out there that are trying to leverage the internet or the web to get more customers, to make more sales. So we're providing the infrastructure and the systems for them to do that. Doing that also opens you up to more challenges. With our e-commerce, there are more challenges. How do people make payments? How are people comfortable about the payment that they are making? Then you start to think about innovation in that space, and that's how we got into payments. There is the issue of last mile logistics. How can people, how will I feel comfortable buying something on a website and ensuring that I can track it and make sure that it gets to me? Logistic management. So those are the kind of ideas that we've dealt with, and we've turned them into products that is now in the market and accepted by the market.
So Netplus actually operates e-commerce platforms, and you have loads of businesses that you've managed to conceive, utilizing whatever the platform is. Can you tell me about these businesses that you've managed to take online?
Netplus owns a few products, WebMore being one of them. So WebMore helps businesses to come online and set up e-commerce space where they can attract customers can see their product, pay for them, and the business can relax, and we go out there, pick up the product, and send to the customer. Today, we help over 5,000 businesses in Nigeria, across Nigeria, do that, including the big ones, as well as the really small ones. And we've created similar platforms working with, especially in the financial services industry, because they have loads and loads of merchants and customers in that space. So we've been able to help them develop similar platforms, to help businesses of all, categories and types come on the web. The payment area, for the consumer, it's very important. I don't want to lose a lot of money because I attempted to do one transaction online. So it's very important for us to innovate around that as well. So which made us develop a platform called Netplus Pay. Is a payment system that uses your internet banking profile. So if the idea is, if you're comfortable transferring money, you should be able to use the same method to make a payment online when you go on WebMore or any other e-commerce platform. So we started integrating with banks. Today we've integrated with quite a few, and we hope that our integration will cut across all the banks, certainly by the end of the year, which makes it easy with your token and your username and password. You can make payments and be rest assured that I've done it through my bank and I'm not exposed in any way.
Okay, now talking about banks, that Netplus has partnered certain banks to deliver some e-commerce platforms. Now tell me about all those other banks that you've managed to partner with and how these e-commerce platforms are faring today.
UBA, like you mentioned, was the first bank that we worked with to develop e-commerce platform. So essentially what we're doing is we have a solid proven technology with WebMore, and we're just using that and replicating that across. And the reason for doing that is to increase adoption really quickly. And then you have, the banks have a lot of customers. With that, the adoption is quick. You have a lot more customers, and you're working with a proven brand. But since then, we've actually also gone ahead to work with banks like Fidelity Bank. They're very passionate in the SME space. We see them as a really true partner in developing the space, and we're working on that together. We work with EcoBank. EcoBank operates a platform called My More, with a slightly different strategy. EcoBank is a Pan-African bank, so the idea really is to start from Nigeria and expand to all other Anglophone and Francophone countries and facilitate inter-country trade. A few more banks are coming on board as well, including Access Bank, that we're working with. It's a really exciting place to be.
This is Under 40 CEOs.
Netplus Advisory focuses solely on value creation for its customers, business partners, investors, and employees. Today, their product portfolio cuts across e-commerce and e-payment segments of the market, containing leading solutions that have significant adoption in the marketplace. WebMall serves over 5,000 merchants, making it easy for them to go beyond boundaries and reach customers in all corners of the country. The firm has been able to raise a multi-million-dollar investment in a bid to grow their product portfolio and presence across markets. At some point in the life of Netplus Advisory, you raised some. You didn't really put out the figure, but it was a multi-million-dollar investment that you raised from Synergy Capital. Now, this is something that young businesses and business owners want to know. How do you go about raising capital for a fantastic idea that you have?
For institutional investors like Synergy Capital and a lot of VCs and PE funds out there, the preference is for them to invest in proven businesses. For a lot of entrepreneurs, it's a journey. It takes time for your business ideas to be proven, and cash requirement doesn't wait until you've proven the business. So the way we went about it, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs go about it in similar ways, is to first lean on your own personal funds. So like I said, I mean, I worked in the US for several years and tried as much as possible to put some money away, to start the venture, and as well as to have something for me and my family to rely on while you essentially don't get paid for several years, potentially. So started with that with my own funds, to move things forward, product development and things of that nature. And then you start talking to family and friends. These are people that they trust you, they know who you are, they have a sense of your passion, they can judge how serious you are about what you're trying to do. But if you're able to get past that stage, to use funds from family and friends, to get into the market and get a few customers, then it's easier to start talking to institutional investors like Synergy Capital and the rest of them, because then you now have something to show. See, I have this idea, it's taking me a couple of years, these are my customers, these are the brands that have worked with me, I have a bank supporting me, we've partnered together to launch a product. The story becomes a lot more interesting, and they can begin to see, okay, this guy is onto something. But then they start asking you, what's the plan for the future? What are your projections? What do you think, this 100,000 naira business is going to turn to in a few years? Is it $1 billion? Is it 10 billion? Is it 100 billion? And with that, they come up with evaluation, what they think your business is worth. And then you guys go into a series of negotiations. Is what this, no, is that. And then hopefully you have an agreement, and then you're able to raise that fund. And it's not usually the end of it. The fact that you raise the first multi-million-dollar investment, the idea is for you to continue to grow. So you grow that business, you prove that you can manage the funds very well and you can turn it around, and then you may require more, who knows, and more after that.
So Wole, you mentioned last year that the money raised, from Synergy Capital was going to be used to expand across markets.
We just completed the first year post-investment, and some of the things we were able to do and achieve in the first year included first expansion of the team. So we've had to bring a few good guys who can help to accelerate our growth in the market, on the sales side, on the marketing side, strategy and finance. So team expansion and getting the right mix of people to move our product and our ideas forward was really important. We've also spent a lot of time focusing on our technology and our products. We've had new requirements from customers, so we spend a lot of time doing that. In terms of market expansion, we're now in the second year, and that's where we're starting to look at other African markets, especially going with some of our partners. I mentioned EcoBank and the strategy to expand to other African countries. We see that as a good way to actually expand, because you are now moving with a partner who's already established in those countries that you are going to and can help you navigate the intricacies of those markets. We firmly believe that if you can be successful in a market like Nigeria, I think you can be successful in most countries in this part of the world.
You also mentioned in an interview with CNBC Africa, it was a fact that you mentioned that $200 million had been raised by tech startups in the past 3 years. But in my own view, I think that those sort of investments have started to dwindle and reduce over the past year. What, in your opinion, is responsible for this?
You may be right. But I think a few things are happening in the market that may be responsible for that kind of shift. The number of ideas that are coming that are clearly differentiated from ideas that have already been established may not be that many. In other words, especially in the tech space, we may not be coming up with ideas that are radically different from what we've seen in the market. So, I challenge a lot of our tech entrepreneurs to think outside the box and come up with things that are maybe not globally relevant, but locally, relevant, and solve a lot of challenges that we have in this market. That's one. Two, I think the investment climate generally, because of what we're going through in the Nigerian market with our economy, may be a problem for investors. A lot of institutional investors raise their funds externally from Europe, from the US, from other parts of the world, China. This investment come in foreign currency, in USD, and when it's time to exit, they expect to exit in USD. With what is going on with exchange rates, very unstable, investors are probably watching the space and looking at, is this the right time for me to come into a market that is really volatile, or should I wait a couple of years and see where this is for me to invest? And I think thirdly is, which is related to our market, is the price of oil. That's a major engine, driver to this economy. And until we figure out alternatives and we grow other sectors, investors are going to say, what's the impact of that on the consumer spending power, and how does that affect any business that I put my money into?
Let's go to family and in relation to work. Yeah. You're married with 2 sons, I believe. For a CEO, this much talked about work-life balance. Is it achievable, or is it a myth?
It's been tough for me last couple of years. I don't think I've been anywhere close to achieving the balance. I think it's tougher for me because my family is actually not in Nigeria right now. So I do a lot of traveling back and forth to ensure that at least I get to spend time with them. I definitely don't miss birthdays. I try not to. But apart from that, there's so many things that I like to be home to do that the job doesn't allow me to. And there are times when I'm actually back home working remotely that you suddenly have meetings. Maybe a CBN calls you for a license that you've applied for, or you're meeting with the investors of your investor. You have to be there. So sometimes you cut your trip short and to be here.
So how has travel and interacting with diverse cultures impacted and added value to you as a person and to your business?
I've been opportunity to go to several countries around the world and several cultures. You just get an appreciation for, the differences in culture, who those people are versus who we are, how they do things. You get inspired by some of the stories that you hear from businesses and from different countries as well. So I've always wondered in school why my friends from South Africa knew a lot about economics, microeconomics, how countries function. But they've gone through, a few recessions in their country, and they're able to manage it. And, it's in the mind of everyone. When businesses think, they think micro and macro. They try to connect what they're doing with what the government is doing and what the implications will be for their businesses. We don't do quite as much, even as, entrepreneurs in Nigeria. You don't quickly connect your business to where the country is going. And, that gave me some insight into how businesses around the world think and how business leaders think, not in isolation, but in the context of everything else that is going on globally, and especially in their own countries.
So one of those key challenges that you scaled and have ensured that you made the strides that you have so far?
The first one is people management. You don't work in isolation. You rely on people. You rely on, there's a first level reliance, and it goes down the line within the organization. You want to make sure that you have people around you who, one, you can trust, and two, you know that they're as passionate about the business as you are, and then you guys have the same focus and goal. Getting the right mix of people is extremely tough. I think maintaining that momentum and maintaining their passion for the business, I think, is even tougher. Over the last couple of years, I think I've been able to come up with a formula that works for me, which helps in identifying the talent, recruiting the talent, and bringing them. Because if you miss it in terms of identifying people that can work with you, not just because they are good, but that you guys have you're on the same wavelength and can work together, I think is really important. So that's one that I've had to learn, and I'm still learning how to deal with. Two is managing your tough customers. You work, especially when you work with the really big brands. They have rules, they have processes, they can really slow you down. As a fast-growing company, early stage, you're very nimble. You want to get to point A to B very quickly. These guys can take 2 years to get to the same place you're trying to get to. So managing them now becomes really important. Managing them such that at least you can reach a compromise. Maybe you're not running as fast as you want to run, but you're not crawling like they want to crawl as well. So managing that and still having a very good relationship with them can really be a challenge, but it's something that I think I've learned over the years. Your investors are backing you. They're saying, yeah, hey, go you. But at the same time, they can't lose focus of that investment and the returns that they're concerned about. So striking that balance between working with them and making sure that you give them the confidence that you're doing what is right versus focusing on the business and saying you guys are a distraction is usually a challenge.
Tell me about your failures as a leader.
In the last few years, there are projects where we've made mistakes and where we've almost got fired by our partners. Not because we didn't know what we're doing, but again, the challenge of, like I said earlier, managing, the processes of a bigger brand and trying to work the way they want to work. We've had a challenge of being able to move our project forward just because of that. And as a leader, maybe started off really badly, not putting people in sync. And not getting a consensus very quickly that almost cost us, a project. But what I've learned from that is also really, is a big lesson. In this market, so many egos flying all around the place. It's not just about one person in one organization. It's about that team that you're trying to work with, and it's about making everyone feel as equally important on the project, and not saying, oh yeah, I talked to A. That should be good enough. A should be able to figure out what B and C wants. But just managing everyone very well and making sure that people are comfortable being on the project, first of all, and then working with you.
How would you then describe your leadership style?
I think mine is very involving. I'm involved in a lot of the things that I do. I try to lead by example. This is how I want things to be done. This is the culture we're developing in this organization. We want you to be part of it. The passion to create value, it's really key for us. Value is a mantra that we always talk about. So when we go out there to talk to customers, we're telling the customers that what we're pitching to you brings value to your organization. When we hire someone to come in and join us, we're telling them that we're going to add value to your career. There's no value if you don't have integrity. The respect for employees, respect for customers, respect for anyone that we work with is really important. But everything, drive up to that value that you want to generate for all the stakeholders.
What's your biggest letdown in your career so far?
My biggest letdown, I think, came even before I started the business. So transitioning from business school in the US to corporate America, was not very straightforward. So the competition was really steep. Everybody wanted to work for a Fortune 500 company. Everybody wanted to do this and that, and it was really a challenge because, culturally you are a bit, you have a disadvantage. You don't talk like them. Sometimes you don't even look like them. So it was a challenge. It was something I had to deal with. I talk to myself. It's not really about you. It's about the circumstances, and I had to deal with that. Needless to say that I went on to do fairly well out there, but it was a challenging part of my career, so to speak.
This is Under 40 CEOs.
We've gotten to know quite a bit about Wole, his business, his leadership style, challenges he has had to overcome, and more. But what does Wole do with his downtime? How does he enjoy the resources he works so hard to earn? I seek to find out. So I have a few quick fire questions for you. What do you love to eat?
Plantain.
How would you describe your style?
Mellow, but can be fierce if and when I need to be.
Okay. So what are your favorite brands to wear?
Polo, Ralph Lauren.
What CEOs do you currently look up to?
Mark Cuban, David O'Leary, and here in Nigeria, I like and respect Shagaya.
Okay, so what's your favorite car to drive?
A Mercedes-Benz.
Your favorite travel destination?
I like to go to Brazil.
Your favorite book of all time?
The Bible, I would say.
Okay. What book are you reading right now? That's not the Bible.
I'm reading, again, The Other City of Hope, Barack Obama.
Okay, lastly, I would like to know what makes Wole happy.
I think I'm happiest when I'm around my wife and my kids.
Thank you for coming on Under 40 CEOs, Wole.
Thanks a lot. Right. Thanks for having me. Hi, my name is Wole Faroun, and you can be an Under 40 CEO too.